There we are. We have full confirmation. Well, China's trying to put the screw. Beijing's trying to put the screws on the island state that has since 1997 gone back under Chinese control from that 99-year lease from Britain. Uh, I remember the summer of '97. By the way, what a wild year! What a wild year! Uh, the Umbrella Rebellion began over them trying to exert more power control and confluence over who they could pull back into Beijing and extradite. And the protests last year were, the Umbrella Rebellion were all about that. Now coming up into what's just happening now, they're trying to. Well, they were starting to use a little more pressure. And you have to remember, if you're a kid that gets arrested, they're threatening 10 years in jail. If just for rioting, for rioting and inciting riots. Yeah, for being a protester. So you have kids that are college kids, 18, 19 years old, teenagers that are getting arrested. And I mean, they're risking or sometimes getting 10 years in jail, for standing up for the democracy and the democratic freedoms that. So Pompeo, right? Autonomous. So they have a lot to gain. Hong Kong's a pretty important economic power, and for Beijing to bring it under more of its control would benefit Beijing, but it would ruin Hong Kong. Hong Kong's it's been allowed to be this, free floating entity, kind of, while loosely attached. Hence the one one country, two systems. Uh, yeah, yeah, absolutely. Mike Pompeo, the Secretary of State for the United States, just declared no longer autonomous for Hong Kong. So I've had some real problems. Well, I haven't liked stuff that Mike's done, but yeah, he's just revoked autonomous status for Hong Kong, autonomous from Beijing. He just yeah, so it's now being recognized as no longer a separate thing. Sadly, because Hong Kong is, and they'll fight. I think they'll continue to fight. Hong Kongers are, I mean, they're an incredible group of people, and I think they'll fight for the things that I mean, So it went back. The Hong Kong went back from it had had its 99-year lease under British rule, imperial rule, up until 1997. So 97, it slowly came back underneath Chinese authority. But they said, look, we're going to have this length of time, these years that we're going to slowly allow. I think they were going to be allowed up until 2047, 2049. I still, it was, yeah, yeah, it was still going to be a where we, well, the idea was that it was going to give yet China more time to change. Now, the China when that we were born into, when we were kids, different. 你好. It's a different China. The China that like Nixon opened up, from a separatist power is a whole different China. China's already gone through their industrial revolution that we went through 100 years ago. They took the environmental hits. That's why there's dirty and there's this stretch where they get rare earth material. Yeah, heavy metals out of the earth, and it's just toxic. It's over by Mongolia, and it's bad. We have the stuff, but we won't take the environmental hit. But they're going through this boom, and they have the population, and they're making sure their kids are getting smarter. Where they're attending to the people, in that regard, where they're trying to huge strides in education, and I mean they're doing some real weird stuff and stuff like that. But real weird stuff. That's a whole nother topic. But the fact remains, Hong Kong is it's supposedly allowed to be its own governing body, and they're infringing on its democratic state status. Now, for us to stand up for Hong Kong is good, and that's something this administration is actually, on face doing, saying, we are behind the people, the United States, and its people are behind the people of Hong Kong is an official statement that was left. Absolutely, and we should. And I mean, it's important that. Oh, well, it's California. Oh, well, as California. No, absolutely. Well, so there's a lot of, yeah, no, there's a lot of movements to do that. No, there's also, I remember at one point there was even, so the District of Columbia doesn't have the same voting status as the state that you and I are from, because it's a district, it's not a state. So they don't even have their own say in a lot of designation, for their own municipalities. Like they can be overridden by, yeah, yeah, they can be. And it's predominantly Washington D.C. is its people, its main population is separate from, there's a disparity between that and the people that they feel governed by. So it's truly, they're the, I mean, right here at home, we have non-representation, taxation without representation, kind of, with Washington D.C. Now, with that comes certain. There's arguments for both camps. There's same with Puerto Rico. People wanted Puerto Rico to be a state. People were like, "Of course, we need Puerto Rico to be a state." There was a, but then the Puerto Ricans are saying, "Well, no." I mean, about Hawaii. Hawaii. We made Hawaii a state. Now, that there's a lot of Hawaiians that do not appreciate the fact that they're part of the U.S. But then you have arguments. Sure, imperialistic role. So there's riots right here at home. It turns out human beings are still awful human beings. Yeah, no, it turns out people are still. So it was Minnesota, it was Minneapolis. It was Minneapolis, right? Of people being killed for their for no reason other than hate and like blind. Minneapolis, Minnesota, and yeah, some man kneeled on another man's neck until he died. Until he died, and the other guy doing the kneeling had a buddy that was standing there making sure nobody interfered. Now, the scene I just described would normally cause everybody to be outraged. Oh wait, no, hold on. Everybody's outraged. It's a cop. So there's so there's been so this morning. You have to remember this has all happened in the last. So he was in. You can see from camera two footage that was released, I think today from an adjacent business. You can't, yeah, you can't definitely do not. There was no training to ever be kneeling on a neck. Yeah, no, somebody was needlessly murdered. Yeah, again, like some guy literally for no, no, it wasn't murder. It was, they're not. So the outrage is that they're not in jail. Yeah, yeah, and the outrage is that this is something that's it's not that this, like I said, it's something that's fairly common. Yeah, no, there was, and it's not that it's getting more and more common. It's just that it's getting more and more films because everybody has smartphones now. That's all. Yeah, no, I mean that was a straight lynching. That was a couple of guys that saw some guy just jogging and he moved close to their house. Didn't know him, and you can well as a rule you should probably not go. It's how we operate. We've all agreed to these rules. No, I know, and so everybody doesn't agree. And when you don't agree, there's supposed to be, to the rules that we all agree on. There's supposed to be consequences, but there weren't immediate consequences for these guys because they knew some people in town. The way Georgia can go, the way Georgia can go sometimes. So the two guy, the jogger, yeah, a couple months ago was that. I mean, that was in Georgia. That was in Georgia. But this was in Minneapolis, and this extended because of the blind outrage to Los Angeles. Yeah. So there was footage yesterday evening, late afternoon, early evening, CHP cars over on the freeway over the line that had gotten surrounded, and then I mean I wasn't sure what was going to happen, and you could hear the commentary from the helicopter. It's all caught, you know, on air, and the guy in the helicopter is like, "You need to get out of there, officer. you need to just you need to just leave." I mean, an angry mom had surrounded this CHP, one of those souped up Chargers, and a board like a 2x4 went through the back window. He sped off. He sped off, and it was multiple Chargers, but it wouldn't have gone. I mean, there was only one thing he could do was leave. That's the only one thing you can do is leave. Whatever you do, don't get out of the car. Yeah, no, you know what? And I'm sure he was on the radio. He's on the radio. They're telling him just get out of there. When, uh, you know, real close to downtown Los Angeles, real close, right there at the 101 got shut down. I believe 101 got shut down. Yeah, yeah, it was. I mean, because we have big diverse city. We're not as homogenized as Minnesota. Yeah, California is a thickly layered state, and our one of our flagship cities is Los Angeles with people from all over the world, and we really melt in. We really melt people in. Is it post racial? Is it post hate? Absolutely not. No, humans are still assholes all over the place. But it didn't blow up. Now, we've got our own policing problems, absolutely, but it didn't blow up yesterday. Yeah, it didn't blow up yesterday. So yesterday for one day we didn't destroy it. No, I've been keeping pretty because I had I did. I also had somebody on the ground downtown in a building that was luckily secured. I mean, it was secured, and the female crew member alone on a station. Absolutely. So she was contacting me just to see if we could stay so she could feel safe, secure. That's our bad news. I mean, safely up in our stations is something we can be thankful for. And the Midwest is, yeah, yeah, no, I know. And I there's good parts of it. I mean, I don't like small mindedness and hate. That's not a thing I like. But there was plenty that I did like. You know. Mm, yes. Yes. Yeah. A little bit. So okay. Okay, so yesterday, last night, I reviewed the new. I believe it is available through Prime. Uh, Seberg, the exciting story of Jane Seberg, American actress, lived half her life in France. Fascinating. Played. It's a true story. Played pretty well by. I mean, a doozy of a little performance by Kristen. And so Jane Seberg, for those of you out there that don't know, American actress, lived half her life in France. Jean-Luc Godard in 1960 made this movie Breathless and put her in it. Immediately immortalized her as an icon of French New Wave. French New Wave cinema had a heroess, and it was Jane Seberg, and she was great. She went on to do four more films, in Hollywood and Europe. The Mouse That Roared was a really great one. That's a little title that you can throw on there. Uh, but the focus is more on, and this is a fun time. The focus was more in the 1960s. She was a vehement supporter of the Black Panthers, the Black Panther Party. Yeah, well, because they evidently still have the same problems. We're still fighting the same idiot issues. People are still assholes, murderous assholes. Yeah, we're still fighting the cause. And she was an early ally that saw, inequality, especially in the 1960s. um, and she stood with the Panthers. She stood with the Panthers. Now, Sharon Tate, Jane Fonda. I know, right? Saigon Salad. Remember Jane? Well, I mean, definitely there was a Seberg goes on to champion the Black Panther Party, and it goes on to document how the FBI then started to, of course, surveil her because they viewed the Black Panthers as right as a a threat, a possible possibility of a threat, and so her affiliation and association gave the FBI a probable cause to start all kinds of policy. I would say let's see. I think 66. It was somewhere in like the mid 60s. It was somewhere in like the mid 60s. I think 66. Oh, May of 68. Yes, because I remember they introed May of 68 is when the French Revolution was happening, the student revolution. Yeah, yeah, May of 68. In fact, they just refer to it as May of 68. Yeah, in Paris. It's the kids, the students grabbed the cobblestones from the streets and threw. Oh, you don't fuck with her. Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Those people were starved once a very long time ago. Never again. No, never again. Uh, so yeah, it was began in the mid to late 60s. I think was where it set the tone, and she came over here and got involved. I think it showed in the movie. It showed her giving up her seat to Malcolm X's widow, like this a young black activist with a panther comes in on a plane and declares that this woman who's Malcolm X's widow should be allowed to sit wherever she wants. Her money's as good as any, and she gets horrible treatment because of blatant racism, which is probably right. I mean, it's 60s. Uh, Jane gives up her seat. Says we'd like to give up her seat. She goes up and she introduces herself. Says, "No problem. I'm Jane." He's like, "I know who you are." And they start to have like a thing, and it's kind of like a little sexy foreshadowing. I am going to come clean. Fell asleep. Great film. Great film. Comfy sofa. It was later at night. It was later at night. I have a super the Cimarron station. So if I'm really just it, yeah, no, it's a special. I have not. That's a non-essential supply. That's a non-essential supply. You know what I'm going to start using? Yeah, that way I would get. You know what? From what I've seen, from what I've seen so far, it looks like it was on its way. You got to realize now they're not. There's no finished it yet. I'm gonna give it a 4 to 5 Coronas. This looked like it was a 4 to 5 Coronas. I can't remember. I liked her performance. They made it seem a little like she was. I wasn't quite sure if they cleared it up because it seemed like she was a little self motivated. Like it seemed like obviously she was aware of injustice, but it seemed like she was using that to maybe catapult and get some press for herself or something like that. So I'm not sure, and maybe that's how it was. Maybe this is a truthful retelling. Oh, so I mean it was directed by Benedict Andrews. The screen like activist leads. Yeah, Anthony Mackie plays Hakeem Jamal, who's the main guy that like first gets on the plane and says, Malcolm X's widow deserves a first class seat if she's ready to pay for it, just like anybody else. Which, absolutely, she was true. And Zazie Beetz plays his wife, is his partner, uh, who goes on to hate Jane because Jane has obviously had, an affair with her husband. And this kind of like takes away from, obviously the work that they're trying to do together. I kind of gets fuzzy after that. I probably faded a little shortly after that, but right. And but I'm aware of Jane Seberg. I mean, I know who she is. She died of suicide at the age of 40 in Paris. 40. No, I know. Yeah, no, I know. Seberg's second husband called a press conference after her death. He publicly blamed the FBI's campaign against her for her. So she'd spent half her life in France. She'd had her career. She was married in France. She was living, yeah. But 79, August 30th, 79. But yeah, Kristen Stewart did a super good job. A lot of stuff. She did a pretty decent job. I mean, outside of that, I don't know. We'd be better. Yeah, we'd be better people. Keep an eye out next show for a new outro. Some new exciting peripheral media coming up. Just remember, we are the mission.